Nadia, you started as a producer in 2001?
Yes, on TV actually in London. So I'd been working in the music industry and Universal Records in marketing promotion, and I decided I wanted to change. So I went into television and was working on entertainment shows, predominantly doing the music side of things. Was working for a lot of bigger the entertainment companies in London, such as Channel 4, BBC. And yeah, that's really how I got into producing. Starting in television, starting in entertainment.
So was it your plan to continue to do that and come to LA, or did you have sort of another path?
Yeah, no, what actually happened, before I got a job in the music industry, I'd intended to go to drama school. I got offered this job for Universal Records, which was a great opportunity. From there went into television, but I didn't love working in television. I don't know, it's just, there's really long hours, there was a real hierarchy, and I was kind of starting closer to the bottom, and had all these great ideas and were just finding that I wasn't getting very far. And also being on set, it kind of brought me back to my love of, I wanted to get back into acting, and I wanted to get back to being in front of the camera. So it was at that point I decided to stop working in television and go back and do formal training as an actor. And yeah, that was about 2004. So I worked in television for a few years, producing, left and went back and followed my true passion, which is acting.
When did you start writing your own content?
When did I start writing my own content? So when I was working in television, as I was saying, I had all these wonderful ideas, what I thought were wonderful ideas at the time. So I began writing TV pitches to pitch for other entertainment shows, and I'd always written, I'd always been very creative in school. I'd written novels about plane crashes over Sweden. For why? Don't ask me why, I have no idea, but that was one of the books that I wrote in school. But it was really when I moved to LA and was pitching to a lot of television companies and finding that because I didn't have an established background, track record in the US for producing, I wasn't really getting in any doors, or I was getting in any doors, but I wasn't being given the opportunity to produce my own things. So I had this idea for a film, for this film, For the Love of George, and it was never my intention to write it. For me to write it, I was going to have somebody else write it, but I got the first draft and it wasn't exactly how I wanted it, so she did it again. Still wasn't exactly how I wanted it. So it was at that point I thought, well, no one knows, I know this story, I know what I want to get across, I will write it with her. So that's what happened, and that was really this is my first screenplay. So that was the first one, I think that was back in probably 2013. Started writing the screenplay for the Love of George, and it kind of grew from there, really.
So you approached a screenwriter for hire? Is that how it worked?
No, it wasn't a screenwriter for hire. It was a friend of mine who had been pitching shows together, TV shows. She was a bit more on the writing side, and I was a bit more of a producer. I had ideas, but I didn't really want to spend hours and days on end and months on end, hiding away writing, because I'm more of a doer. I like to see results quicker. So I had, I told her my idea. It was a story outline I had for this film, and she went away and wrote it. And like I said, because it wasn't exactly how I wanted it, but it was someone that I knew pretty well. It wasn't someone I randomly approached. We've been working together on other stuff. So she had a rough idea of what I wanted, but it wasn't exactly how I wanted it.
So was it like 90 pages?
The first draft. Actually we started with a 13-page pitch, and it kind of grew from there. And at the time of when I first began, with the idea for this film, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a short or a feature. So we kind of had this rough outline, but didn't know exactly what the story would be. And then, yeah, I think the first draft, it was probably about 90 pages. It ended up being 110 or something. It just grew, and the story changed so much. I think we began writing it in 2013 and actually didn't finish it. I mean, I finished it basically whilst we were shooting. I was still changing scenes during our actual shoot because certain things weren't working, or logistically we couldn't do something that I'd written into the script, so we had to change the whole scene. And even actually after we finished shooting, we had a couple of extra shooting days and filmed a couple of other scenes. So I actually didn't finish writing the script till after I'd finished writing the film, shooting the film. So yeah, it was a long process.
Were these alternate endings, or you just had some extra sort of like character background?
Yeah, no, they weren't alternative endings. It was more, you know, there were a couple of things in the film that really worked well, and there were a couple of things that when I actually saw the finished project, I wasn't so sure that they really fit in. So there was a couple of things within the film that I felt were working really well. So I wanted to go and write a couple of extra scenes. One of them is with the Luke character played by Sean Sipos. He was coming across really well, and I felt there were a couple of things that needed smoothing out a little bit in the story. So I went afterwards and wrote a couple of extra scenes, and we went and filmed them after the film was finished, basically. So yeah, so it was a long, probably 3.5 years from start to finish with the script.